So this is a hair integration system with beads and no mesh. In this particular example, I am assuming that the client has got a hairline. In some scenarios, it's possible to actually use the hairline and blend that in. In other scenarios where the client doesn't have a hairline, you'll have to actually enable, the system will actually have to come all the way up to the front where that system itself will generate the hairline. But where you can use a hairline, I would recommend that you do that because it makes it a lot more natural. When it comes to these kind of bases, they look much better when you've got a center parting as opposed to a side parting, just because when you are using the closure that you're going to sew onto it, it looks a lot better when you actually got it centered. So what I'm doing here is creating a center parting first so that I'm separating the actual parting area, which is going to ensure that that specific area is going to look really natural, because when the lace goes on top of it, it's going to go directly onto the scalp and it will look as if the hair is growing directly from the scalp. So I do the center parting first, and now what I'm doing is I'm just creating the sectioning of where the entire piece is going to be. So the way this is going to be constructed, it's going to be constructed with a lace parting and wefts. So what I'm doing now is just sectioning everywhere, which is going to include the section where the lace parting itself is going to go and also where the weft is going to go. You don't really need to be precise at this point because sometimes you might require a little bit more weft than you think initially, but it's always good to have that sectioning so that you know what you're working with. So I've done the front, I'm doing the sides now, and then I'm going to move to the back and I'm just going to go around it. So what I've done here is I've just used a grip so that I'm separating the areas that I don't want to have on the weft to the area that I do want to have on the weft. So I'm just doing this on the other side as well. I'm just making sure that my lines are very straight and neat, because it really does help when you've got neat and straight lines. This particular mannequin has got a lot of hair. Unfortunately, it's not always easy to get mannequins that have got fine hair. So you may have to, like what you will notice that I've done later on, is thin this out, because it's going to be so difficult for you to try and get this type of, this amount of hair into the system that you're trying to build. So it also is a note for self that if the client has got too much hair, this type of base is not the best base to use. You definitely want to make sure that you're using the right base for the right type of customer. And if it's got too much hair like this has got, I wouldn't ordinarily use this as my base. I would use a different method. So now what I'm seeking to do is actually create that space where the closure is going to sit. So you can see, again, I'm just really going into my center parting, and I'm making sure that that is exactly how I want it to be, because this is where the lace is going to sit, and you want that to be as natural as possible. Again, I'm not going as far as the hairline, because this particular client has got a good hairline, and I like to use the hairline when a client's got good hairline, and the system is going to sit directly behind the hairline. There's just another side view just so you can see what I'm doing. It's always good to section your hair because it makes it a lot easier for you to know exactly what you're doing. So now not everybody uses this step, but I find this really helpful. And this is basically for every single size of closure. I literally have a plastic cutout, which is a template, and I'll put that template against the client so that I know where to position the beads. Sometimes it's really difficult to know where to position the beads, and sometimes we can position the beads too far out or we can position them too far in. But having a template like this is really going to help you. So next what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go around that template and I'm going to create my line of beads so that now this becomes the perimeter section upon which I am actually now going to sew onto it the lace. closure. Very simple process using beads. So you're just going to, I'm using a nano bead, so you're just going to put the nano bead onto the hair in the same way as you would do it in any other way. You use your feeder to do so. And then I always will start from the front, and then I'll go to the sides and the back, and then I'll do that on the other side as well. You want to make sure you also have sufficient hair in the bead itself as well. The method that I'm going to use here is a linking method. The beauty about using a linking method is, number one, it enables you to be able to trail the line so that when you're sewing the lace onto the system, onto the client itself, it's a lot easier to find. But also, when the client has got fine hair, you need a method for you to actually bulk onto the hair, because otherwise, if you're just doing individuals, it might not be strong enough. So what I've done here is I've just kind of like created the section so that I can see what I'm doing. And as you can see, I put a couple of beads in the front, a couple of beads in the middle, and a couple of beads at the back. And now I'm just going to draw a line that's just going to connect that together. You can see I'm just drawing the line and connecting where those beads are. And again, you just really want to be careful with your lines, and you want to make those lines as neat as possible. So I'm going to connect it all together. And what you're going to see is I'm going to go from one side first, so from one side of the front to the way of the back, and then I'm going to go around and do the other side as well. For the purpose of this video, I'm not going to give you, I'm not going to do the whole entire thing, but I'm going to show you exactly what I'm doing so that you can see, and then you can replicate and you do exactly the same thing on the other side. Here goes the first bead. You've got to make sure that the bead is as flush as possible to the scalp. The looser the bead is on the hair, the quicker the hair is going to loosen, and the quicker the client is going to be back for maintenance. So you want to try and make it as close to the scalp as possible. So now I'm going to travel that backwards. I'm just going to get rid of the temporary bead that we put there before. And then you just go in, and again you connect through. One of the things that I always do is, as I'm traveling, I just drop a little bit of the hair out, as you can see there. That's just to ensure that the actual trail that I'm making does not get too thick, because if you continuously trail all the hair all the way through, what you'll find is that it's not going to go into the bead itself, because you're going to have too much hair for the bead. So you want to be able to just take some hair out and trail it all the way through, as you can see here. Very simple process. I like to call this the link process, and you can use this link system on so many different things. And I've demonstrated in a few different videos as to how this link system can be used in different things. And as you can see there, I'm just trailing it. And here's the finished picture of what I've done. And now what will happen there is the lace itself is going to go around that perimeter. Now you've got this other section of hair that you need to actually get out of the way. So the purpose of this is to make sure that the hair is as flat as possible against the client's scalp, because if you've got it lifting up too much, it's going to look bulky and it's not going to look natural. So you really want to get it as flat as possible. Now what I tend to do is I try and use as little beads as possible, because I don't like to put too many beads on a client's head, because that in itself can also be uncomfortable. So I'll use as little beads as possible, but I'm just doing a straight line. And because I've managed to thin this hair out, it's not as bulky as it was before, and I'm able to use this system. Like I said before, if it's got too much hair, This system of creating this base is not going to work for you. You just pull that through and you're going to clamp it in place. The motto here is the flatter the better. You just want to get that hair as flat as possible. Now I'm going to go again and do another one just so that you can see. The amount of hair that you take is dependent on the amount of hair that the client has and also the amount of hair that's going to fit into the bead. And you just keep going. This is very simple, very, very simple, super simple process, no complications, and it really does achieve natural looking results. Here's the finished product. As you can see, there's the beads all in. And that's lying so flat that when the lace goes on top of it, it's just going to look so natural. You can go ahead and do yours now.